Welcome back once again to your ENC Edumate YouTube channel. So here we are going to analyze the important notes and textual activities of the Serang of Ranaganji. So I have completed the Serang of Ranaganji by A.J. Cronin, the story. And those who didn't attend, please watch the classroom teaching. And this note will be very beneficial and useful for you. And for the focus area, it will be used again also. What was the notable about the appearance of the Indian Serang? S-E-R-A-N-G. Serang. What was notable about the appearance of the Indian Sarang? S-E-R-A-N-G, Sarang. He was squat, very short and dark, and looked very ugly. He was with the short legs and a large, disproportionate, not having proportionate. Opposite of proportionate means disproportionate, not having a balanced, not a shape head. Who were the passengers on the Ranaganji? Again, two. Where is repeated, that should be cut down. Who were the passengers on the Ranaganji? The passengers were on the Ranaganji tourists and pleasure seekers. Here answer also one where. Here the last where should be cut down. The passengers on the Ranaganji, sorry, the first should be cut down. The passengers on the Ranaganji where first WER should be cut down. The passengers on the Ranaganji were tourists and pleasure seekers. So we'll pass on to the question number 3. Who was Miss Jock Smith? Write a short character sketch. Miss Jock Smith was a passenger on the Ranaganji. She was a thrusting person. Thrusting, very imposing. She was over 30 years old, but she dressed herself smartly and in a dashing style to look younger. She was a first-class passenger on the Ranaganji. She was always seen with her male companion Ronnie. She was a snob and a big bore. Her comment about the Serang was an absurdly comic creature. When at the end of the story, this T should be taken and there is a space between two words. At the end of the story, she asked the narrator whether he had kept the Serang in a cage. But all the animals were outside. That was the comment. This was the end of the story. He meant that she was an animal with a rude remark about the people and her showing of nature. Okay. Question number 4. What was the condition of the seamen who were brought by the Sarang to Dr. Cronin? The seamen did not look well. They complained of a general illness, strong headache, and severe bone pains. They looked frightened as the doctor began to examine them. Both had a fever. Their tongues were, 3 words are there. So their tongues, THEIR slash TONGUE slash where, WERE, like that these 3 words are joined, there is no space. Their tongues, THEIR slash, give a space please, tongues, TONGUES slash and WERE. There is also gap between. So their tongues were covered with a thick sputum, means swollen. They had a dry skin, which is nature's gravest warning. The doctor then discovered hard little nodules under the wrist skin of each man. It was the sure symptom of smallpox. It was a sure symptom of smallpox. Question number 5. How did A.J. Cronin conclude, tried to stop that the seamen were infected with the smallpox? A.J. Cronin concluded that the seamen were infected with the WITH, there is no dot. So, infected with the smallpox because he discovered hard little nodules under their wrist skin. It was the sure symptom of smallpox. Question number 6. Describe Captain Hampton. What was his reaction when he heard about the breakout of smallpox on the ship? Captain Hampton was a thickest man of 55. He was known as a strict disciplinarian. When the doctor told him that the two of the deck hands, that is a hyphenated word, deck hyphen hands, had a smallpox, Captain Hampton's lips drew tightly together, showing his tension. He was also a just and fair-minded officer. When he heard about the breakout of smallpox on the ship, he asked the doctor to do his best to keep the disease from spreading. From FROM. From FROM. From spreading. From spreading. He also wanted others not to know of the diseases, not to know of the diseases, that means the smallpox disease, as passengers would then get panicky, very much troubled and in a very confused state. Question number 7. Where and how was the shelter for the infected patients made? The shelter for the infected patients was made in the back part of the ship, where it wouldn't be so visible to others. Nobody can see. Hassan was the main person who made the shelter. In 1 hour, he constructed a large canvas shelter. Mattresses and sheets were then brought up and the 2 patients were placed there. Question number 8. How did the Serang take care of the deceased patients? The Serang was very sincere and compassionate in caring for the deceased patients. It was a situation to test the strongest nerves, but the Sarang was calm and undisturbed. In attending the patients, he seemed untiring. The doctor had to beg him to be careful and asked him not to go too close, very near to the patients. Too close means very near to the patients. But the Serang was not afraid and he continued taking care of the patients in all possible ways. What information did Dr. Cronin collect about the Serang? Dr. Cronin, A.J. Cronin, eye is to be cut. Dr. A.J. Cronin gathered some information about the Serang's past history. His name was Hassan. He was from the Punjab, but his parents have moved into South India. There, like many others in the coastal region, he had taken to the seafaring life. For nearly 40 years, he had been traveling in the various oceans of the world. In the Ranaganji, he had spent 15 years. He had no place on shore. He had no friends or family. He had never married. He was a Muslim. All his life, he had acquired nothing. Neither money nor property. What he had was worth a few rupees, and it was in the ship. Question number 10. What was Hassan's attitude to life as explained to Cronin? Hassan thought money was of no use for someone who had all that he needed. He was quite happy with the way he was. He needed no extra money for his service. He had no respect for money and he despised it. He was never worried about it tomorrow. So these are the question answers you can use for the character sketch of Mr. Hassan. Do you agree with A.J. Cronin's remark that the animals were all outside? Why? I partly agree with A.J. Cronin's remark that you can say partly or fully as to your wish, that the animals were all outside. People like Miss Job Smith and her companion Ronnie, companion means a friend Ronnie, were definitely animals. They could not see a man as a man, but as an animal. I don't think all the 1,500 passengers and the crew outside were as bad as these two people. That is why I said I partly and not wholly. Wholly means completely agree. Question 2, think and respond we started. Do you think that A.J. Cronin should have reported the selfless efforts, hard work of Hassan to the authorities and recommended him for rewards and promotion? Very possible. In normal circumstances, I would say yes. But in the case of Hassan, he is already happy with his life and his position. I don't think any rewards and promotion would make him happier. He is a contented means a satisfied man, and contentment, satisfaction cannot be got through rewards and promotion. How is the world view of the passengers in general different from that of Hassan? The passengers are mostly tourists and pleasure seekers, that we discussed this answer earlier. They find joy in portraying, picturizing or describing and such things. They strive all their life for success and earning more wealth, money, as the doctor himself testifies. But for Hassan, happiness is service, and he is contented, satisfied. He is neither interested in parties nor in wealth or success. Question number 4. Why? Naturally, it is me. These words show that Hassan is very ready to shoulder any responsibility happily. Comment on Hassan's ability to volunteer at the time of an emergency. Smallpox is a deadly disease and it is very contagious. Nobody would like to go near a person afflicted with the smallpox. Hassan is a Serang and he is no way obliged to nurse the sick people. He could have easily said he would not take care of the sick as it does not form part of his job obligations. But the moment the doctor asked who would help him, who would help him? Comma, there you should give a comma. Who would help him? The ready reply comes from Hassan. So help him, comma, the ready reply comes from Hassan. By volunteering to nurse the sick man, he was risking his life. It is not easy to find such good people in the world which strives for success and wealth. People like Hassan are very rare and such people will always come forward in case of any emergency. Activity 2, letter. You know that A.J. Cronin, the physician of the ship, is extremely impressed by the service of Hassan. Imagine that after the voyage, Cronin writes a letter to the director of the company which owns the ship Ranaganji, detailing the selfless service Hassan rendered during the voyage, during the sea journey. He also requests the director to reward Hassan with a promotion in return for his service. Draft the letter which Cronin would write. So remember, this is really a formal letter, an official letter, asking for the promotion and pay revision for Hassan. So let us see the format. First, address to Government Hospital, Lord Curzon Lane, Calcutta, then date. So actually this is a center's address. Okay, center's address, official letter or formal letter, the center's letter. Government Hospital, Lord Curzon Lane, Calcutta. Then after that, date. 17 July 1940. This is the way to write a date for an official letter. Then receiver's address. The director, Eastern Import-Export Company, Strand, London. Then addressing, dear sir, salutation. After that, subject, Hassan, the Serang of Ranaganji. Then body of the letter. Our last trip to Calcutta was quite eventful, full of events. Ranaganji had nearly 1,500 passengers, mostly tourists and pleasure seekers. The voyage to Calcutta began favorably in calm, clear weather. Weather means climate, atmosphere, and we passed Hampton without any incident. Now we were in the Arabian Sea. Second paragraph. To our dismay and horror, that means to our surprise and fear, we discovered that two of our Lascar desk hands had smallpox. When I reported the matter to two words, the captain, Mr. Hampton, He told me to keep the matter a secret as the news would spread panic among the passengers. I was quite worried, completely worried, and did not know what to do and how to cope with the problem, how to adjust with the problem. It was then I realized what a good man Hassan, our Serang, was. He told me not to worry. He made a shelter in the stern of the ship into which the infected patients were moved. He volunteered to nurse them without worrying about his own safety. Later, more workers were diagnosed with the smallpox. In all, we had 14 cases and Hassan took care of all of them without a murmur and complaint. I was astonished, surprised at his means Hassan's selfless service and devotion. Next paragraph. Later, two sick men died. Hassan sewed their shrouds, dead body covering dress or clothes called shrouds, and read aloud a short passage from the Ramayana. We should know that he himself was a devout Muslim, but he read the Ramayana because the persons who died were Hindus. It showed his religious tolerance. After that, he cast the bodies overboard at midnight. When we reached Colombo, the sick men were taken to the hospital. Hassan was in the forefront to help them. Although some of them were with the running source of smallpox, normally no one would dare to do such things. But Hassan did it. He really loved men. It is difficult to find such unselfish and self-sacrificing people like Hassan. I strongly recommend that Hassan be given a promotion in recognition of his great services to the company. He should be made the chief petty officer of Ranaganji. I will talk to you more about the trip to Calcutta when I return to London. With regards, A.J. Cronin, Chief Physician of Ranaganji. Activity 3, Speech. The director of the company receives a letter from A.J. Cronin. He is pleased with the service rendered by Hassan throughout the voyage. They arrange a special get-together of all the officials and the crew of the ship. In that get-together, the managing director of the company announces that the company appreciates the service of Hassan and promotes him as the chief petty officer of the ship. The director invites Hassan to speak a few words on this occasion. Answer. Imagine that you are a Hassan. What would be your reaction and feelings at this moment? Draft a speech that you would deliver on the occasion. My reaction would be that of gratitude to God and the company. Of course, I will be happy on getting the promotion. When I am in a better position, I will be able to give a better service to people. The speech is starting. Dear Director, Dr. Cronin, respected officers and crew members, saluting the important persons, I am so happy to be given this kind of recognition by the company and the officers. I don't think I did anything great in serving the sick people in the ship. Wasn't it my duty to serve with the suffering? Allah has given us this life to love and serve others. When we get a chance, we should be able to offer service to others. I am a Muslim, but I believe we all are children of God. That is why I even read from the Ramayana some relevant part when I sewed the shroud for the dead people and wanted to cast them overboard. I was not worried about getting the disease because I felt that life is a gift from God. He will take it away. He will take it away. A-W-A-Y, not way, away. So he will take it away whenever he likes. Whatever precautions you might take, you can't prevent death from coming to you. Next paragraph of the speech, I don't value money or position much, but I am happy that I am given promotion because it will help me to do more service to my brethren. Brethren means brothers. Old English, brethren. Brethren means brothers. I would like to end to my humble words with a quotation from the Bible. It asks, what is the use of earning so much wealth in this world if you lose your soul? So my advice to my friends is help others as much as possible. Before I close, I want to thank Dr. Cronin and the chairman for giving me the promotion. For giving. Two words. For, put a slash or space. For giving me the promotion. For space giving. I assure them that I will continue doing my best for the company. May the Almighty Allah bless you all and thank you. Activity 4, role play. Miss Jo Smith soon hears about the promotion given to Hassan and the reason for the promotion. She feels sorry for her prejudiced remarks about him. She decides to meet Hassan in person and congratulate him for his efforts and the promotion he has received. Form pairs. Make a two members group. Imagine that one of you is Miss Job Smith and the other is Hassan. Role play the whole conversation between Job Smith and Hassan. So let us see Job Smith and Hassan dialogue. Actually, Job Smith is the woman or the lady who criticized the vulgar shape and dirty appearance of Hassan. Job Smith, good evening, Hassan. I am Job Smith, one of the travelers in the Ranaganji going to Calcutta. Hassan, good evening. Glad to meet you. You were on the ship. Job Smith, JS, congratulations on your promotion. You really deserve it. Hassan, thank you, Miss Job Smith. I thank Allah, Allah means Muslims, God, for all these wonderful things happening to me. Job Smith, I want to say one more thing to you. I want to say sorry. Say sorry for what? For thinking ill of you, for thinking bad of you and laughing at you. Job Smith, for thinking ill of you and laughing at you. When I saw you first, I talked ill of you, bad of you for no reason. I guess I was very proud. I could never imagine that you were such a nice and brave person. Hassan, I don't think I am such a nice and brave person. Brave means courageous. I did what I ought to have done in the circumstances. When I knew some workers were having smallpox, had to take care of them. Does not Allah want us to help one another? Jobsmith, you are right, Hassan. We ought to help one another. I am ashamed of my prejudice. I am sorry. Hassan, it's okay, madam. We all make mistakes. Forget it and be happy. Jobsmith, thank you, Hassan. I feel quite relieved now. Quite means complete relieved now. Thank you very much. Activity 5 word power. The parts of a ship here is a picture of a ship. Mark as many parts as you know. So you see here number is given there, picture is given there. The first one is a funnel of a ship. Second one is a stern. Stem to stern we have from one end to the other end. 3, anchor. We know that part. Look at the shape, anchor. Fourth one is a hull of the ship. Fifth one is a tank of the ship. Sixth one is a bow of the ship. Seventh one is the mast of the ship. Look at that is the mast. And the eighth one is a deck of the ship. Ninth one is a cabin of the ship. So there you look at the picture and find out this one. The crew of the ship, who are the professionals working in a ship. What is the meaning of crew? Crew are the professionals working in a ship. What do they do? So, professions and duties. Captain, the person in charge of the ship. Captain, the person in charge of the ship. Master supervises the officers. Boatswain, in charge of maintenance of the ship. Gunner trains gun operators and is in charge of ammunition, weapons. Quartermaster in charge of navigation and signals. Mate, petty officer who assists and warrant officer. Doctor, in charge of the health. Lascars, workers who do various small jobs in the ships are called lascars. Activity 6. The past participle as adjective. Study the following expressions carefully. You see, past participle, ed form. Ed form of the verb is called past participle or third form. Smartly dressed woman, well-bred voice, bred, dressed, ed form. Amused gaze, ed form, amused. Titled, ed form, titled friends. The expressions smartly dressed, well-bred, amused and titled, ed form are used as adjectives. They are participle forms of the verbs dressed, breed, bred, dress, dressed, breed, bred, amuse, amused, and titled. A.J. Cronin has used many such expressions in the story. When you read, you can find out ed form of the verb used as or participle used as adjectives. Find out more expressions from the story where the past participle form of the verbs have been used as adjectives. Explain the meaning of these expressions to your friends. Added source. A source which is added to something. Added, ed. Looked frightened. Looked, ed form. Looked afraid. Thickly furred tongues. Furred, ed, like furred tongues. Young and inexperienced. Experienced experienced, inexperienced, not having enough experience. Lion, lioned and battered face. Lioned, battered, ed form. Face full of creases and looked sad. That is lined and battered face. I am overloaded and understaffed. Overloaded, understaffed, ed form. I have too much work and very few workers. Baffled, I looked, baffled, ed, looked, worried and confused. Serang, who undismayed, ed form, calm and cool, protected from view, safe and hidden, protected. Calm and unperturbed, ed form, undisturbed. You see, notes, prefixes like under, over, etc. can also be added to the past participle form of a verb to function as adjective. For example, overcrowded ship, understaffed crew. These also prefixes also can be used. Adverbs of frequency, read the notes and explanations given on below. He had never married. Money had no interest for him. He had always despised it. What is the meaning of the words underlined? What is the function of these words? Let us see. Seldom have they reached the office on time. Seldom have they reached the office on time. No sooner did the last visitor. No sooner did the. So no hyphen, there is a space. Sooner hyphen, there is a space. Did hyphen, there is a space. And the. Did space the. No sooner did the last visitor leave the museum than he closed the gate. No sooner than. Seldom have they reached the office on time. Little did he know about the nature of the job he was undertaking. Not until next year will there is a new vacancy. The answers of your textbook, activity, adverbs of frequency. Not until next year will there is a new vacancy. Hardly had I reached the station when the train arrived. Activity 8, passivization. Activization and passivization. Active voice and passive voice. Study the following sentences carefully. Soon the sick man had been taken off to the hospital by somebody. Mattresses and sheets were then brought up and the two patients were comfortably installed. Passive. In both the above sentences, we are not told who did the action. The doer of the action is unknown. Who brought the sheets and the beds were arranged? Who arranged the bed? And who have taken the sick man to the hospital? In both the above sentences, we are not told who did the action. The doer of the action is unknown. Rewrite these sentences without changing the meaning. Begin the sentences with they. Soon they had taken up the sick man to the hospital. This is active voice of the A sentence in the. They brought mattresses and sheets and installed the two patients comfortably. So, Lascars with the fever brought to Cronin. Both the patients examined, smallpox confirmed. Evacuation room prepared, patients isolated. All crew examined, more cases identified. There is a chart that offers a clue about the steps taken by A.J. Cronin and Hassan to prevent the spreading of smallpox in the ship. Go through it carefully and prepare a report of how they controlled the spreading of smallpox in the ship. Hassan found 2 deck lascars with the fever and he brought them to Dr. Cronin. Dr. Cronin examined both the patients. He found that they had smallpox. Hassan prepared an evacuation room and moved the patients there. On examining all the crew members, Dr. Cronin discovered fresh cases of smallpox. Dr. Cronin isolated all the patients and gave them treatment. He kept the outbreak of smallpox a secret from other passengers because it might scare them. There were altogether 14 patients. 2 of the patients died, but the others survived. Dr. Cronin and Hassan were successful in preventing the killer disease from spreading. The Serang of Ranaganji. Textual extended activities, activity 1. Given below is a list of some of the cases in which first aid would be required. You may add more to the list. Answer: injured leg and bleeding. First aid is needed. Fractured hand, burned fingers, fits, snake bite, fainting, asthmatic attack. What first aid would you give in these situations? Get the information from the internet or from a medical practitioner. Here is an example. In the case of a snake bite, the first thing to be done is to prevent the spreading of the infected blood. Using a long piece of cloth, tie the limb above the site of the bite. This will prevent the blood from spreading. Then with a sterilized blade or a knife, widen the wound so that the infected blood can flow out. Then try to get medical help as fast as you can. This is a one specimen. Like that you can write about other situations where you wanted to apply first aid. Read the story on courage. I told you there is a passage by A.G. Gardiner given on below of the text. On courage, but if I were asked to name the instance of individual, this is in your textbook, which had most impressed me, I should find the task more difficult. Should I select something that shows how war depraves or something that shows how it ennobles? If the latter, I think I would choose that beautiful incident of the sailor on the Formidable. He had won by pallet place in one of the boats. The ship was going down, but he was to be saved. One pictures the scene. The boat is waiting to take him to the shore and safety. He looks at the old comrades who have lost in the battle and who stand there doomed to death. He feels the passion for life surging within him. He sees the cold, dark sea waiting to engulf its victims, and in that great moment, the greatest moment that can come to any man, he makes the triumphant choice. He turns to one of his comrades. "You have got parents," he says. "I haven't." And with that word so heroic in its simplicity, he makes the other take his place in the boat and signs his own death warrant. I see him on the deck among his doomed fellows, watching the disappearing boat until the final plunge comes and all is over. The sea never took a braver man to its bosom. Greater love hath no man than this. Can you read that story without some tumult within you? Without the feeling that humanity itself is ennobled by his great act, and that you are in some mysterious way better for the deed? That is the splendid fruit of all such sublime sacrifice. It enriches the whole human family. It makes us lift our heads with the pride that we are men, that there is in us at our best this noble gift of valiant unselfishness, this glorious prodigality that spends life itself for something greater than life. If we had met this nameless sailor, we should have found him perhaps a very ordinary man, with plenty of failings, doubtless, like the rest of us, and without any idea that he had in him the priceless jewel beside which crowns and coronets are empty baubles. He was something greater than he knew. So, A.J. Gardiner's essay on courage is talking about a person who did not regard his own life but gave another man because he had his family and his family members. So, this you don't write down. Actually, this is actually, so try to understand, try to make the notes given at the following sentence. We will come with another chapter's notes. Thank you very much.